welcome to Modern Art Blitz with Matt Gleason, except Matt isn't here, so you just have me. I'm normally the co-host, Lisa Derrick, but now I guess I'm in charge sort of for tonight, live at 5 on Dronebox Lab, on dronebox.com, and archived on Dronebox and on modernartblitz.com, and you can find us on Facebook. And tonight I have a guest that has me totally blown away, and I hope I can do justice to his talent with my interview skills. Victor Matthews, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon.
I just want to kind of read off a list of your awesomeness so that people understand if I stammer or seem a little fangirl starstruck here. You have exhibited in numerous solo exhibitions in the US and abroad, including the 48th Venice Biennale, Museum Sala Uno in Rome, the Bocca Museum of Art, the Guggenheim Museum in Venice, the Sculpture Center in New York. You also exhibited in the 55th Venice Biennale, and you have some very impressive friends. Should I name drop them or not? No, we're just going to
talk about the art.
I'd rather talk about your art too.
Yes.
But you spent most of your career in New York. You were born in New York?
Yes, I was born in Brooklyn in '63. And I always painted and was into working and drawing doodles, like charcoal drawings in Brooklyn. And I made it to the High School of Art and Design, which is a public art school, but you have to take a test to actually, so somehow I made it.
What was the test?
We had to draw a still life, a portrait, and a scene on a street of someone on a bus stop or a train stop or, you know, a city.
Right.
And I got lucky and I passed. It was a big thing. And from there, I went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. But I'm not institutionally, I'm not trained as a fine artist. I have a degree in commercial illustration. But I used to do murals, and I didn't have no money in Soho, and I worked in restaurants, and I was upset because I was working for ad agencies. It's '84. And then I met Keith Haring, and I waited on Keith and Andy Warhol at the, what was it called? The NoHo Star.
Wow.
And
And you hit it off with them?
Not hit it off, I just got to see what they were doing, which was painting and drawing anything and not anyone telling you what to do.
Not giving a fuck.
And then I started, yes, that's then I've been in Tribeca, mainly Chinatown, since '85.
Right. And you recently moved out here. Did you leave because of the hipster influx in Brooklyn, or the weather?
No, some hedge fund punk bought the whole building, and it's called the AIR, the Artist in Residence. It's a law that exists in Soho, which was the original art community. And if you have an artist in residence, after 10 to 15 years, it's hard to move an artist above Canal Street. I was 2 blocks below Canal Street.
Oh man.
So I had a whole floor since '85 there. So I was gonna get another place, and I decided to, after 51 years being in New York, you know.
It was time to.
Yeah, change is good.
And has the move to the West Coast affected your painting at all?
I like it's less noise. There's more light. There's more light. The light is very nice, and it's year round. And the buildings are very shorter.
Right.
So you get so much light in. And some places are cleaner and it's less noisier.
Wow.
And I'm less distracted because everyone knows where I live in New York. and
So they
people just happens to be walking in your neighborhood.
Right.
Here, people don't walk. They don't happen to be in your neighborhood. So no one's gonna happen to ring your doorbell, like in, you know,
Yeah, and see what's up.
in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like I was in the neighborhood. I was just seeing if you were home. Doesn't happen in LA.
There are very few drop-bys, I have to say.
Yeah.
Parking is a problem, and you have to drive to get to people. So
No one walks here.
exactly, exactly. So this is one of your New York pieces.
This piece is a recent piece. I did it from a show at K&M Fine Arts recently, and it was called The Longest Road. And I connected these roads of like different decades of my life, and there was 5 paintings, and each painting took like a month and a half to do. And this is all the roads connect on each road, and it's a depict me from Brooklyn, being in Manhattan for 30-something years, 40 years, and then actually moving to here and painting how I feel about not being in New York and being here.
And
so it's different feelings of then the road connects. It's been a long road.
Definitely, definitely. What size is this painting?
This is 6 feet by 9 feet, 6 feet high, 9 feet across. And I work with oil stick, and it's permanent. I don't do any studies, and I don't do any work from no photographs. I don't work from no stencils. I just draw and paint how I feel.
Wow.
And I don't know what I'm doing.
So you just sort of go into a state?
I treat my canvas, it's like a meditation. I mean, everything winds up connecting. I don't know, but I know the feeling of what I'm feeling at the moment, but I don't know how the painting's gonna come out.
And how long would a piece like this take you to do?
5 to 6 weeks.
And do you start at one side and work your way across, or?
It doesn't matter, it depends how I feel. I work like 5:45 in the morning. I wake up at 5:30 every morning, and then I take a nap. A friend of mine said once to me, he said, if you can't take a siesta, there's no reward of being an artist.
That's true.
Very important to take a siesta. You can get 2 days in one. It's true.
It's true. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
No one bothers you in the morning.
I love it.
I'm not a nighttime painter. I've never been.
Do you like to go out at night?
No, I read or watch a movie or read. I used to go out. I'm 53 plus tax now. I'm not a youngster like I used to be.
What do you like to read?
That's Salman Rushdie, one of my favorite authors. I like to read Hemingway. So I just get my hands on stuff.
But you read a lot of fiction?
Yes, I read a lot of different things. And I'm self-taught as a painter, you know, and so from all the history of painting and sculpting, and I'm still catching up on stuff that they would have taught me in university if I would have went to school.
Right.
I'm glad I didn't.
Well, you just can't.
To critique a painting is boring.
Yeah.
You got to pay someone to critique your work. I mean, technically, with materials, going to art school is good.
Materials is important.
But it's my personal opinion and yours. Just like a book or a movie.
Yeah.
If you don't like the painting, doesn't mean it's a good painting.
No.
And but you're teaching me how to stretch canvas and use different sizings and from you're gonna use resins, and you're gonna don't use rabbit skin glue. I went through all that myself.
What's rabbit skin glue?
Oh, it's rabbit skin glue. It's a sizing.
Really?
Old school.
Wow.
But I was lucky because I learned using encaustics. I learned from Ross Bleckner. Bryce Martin taught me how to be patient. Francesco Clemente taught me how to use watercolors and his looseness and the simplicity of Donald Batchelor. I can go on and on. And I was very fortunate in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if artists are like that these days, are so inviting to invite young artists, and I've always done that.
To share information and techniques and tricks.
Absolutely. You ask questions, and some artists are just very insecure.
You don't want to share.
I don't want to tell you my
Secret.
It might be kryptonite later.
You'll use it against me.
Yeah, whatever.
So, Abel, do we have another piece up? Oh wait, that is a new
See,
one.
the road connects still?
Yes.
And all these things you see, these intricate, like fish. I'm a big fish eater. I eat the Mediterranean diet. I don't eat too much meat. And all these connecting, these water towers
and it
and
looks
Brooklyn Bridge is from me.
Statue of Liberty up
You see a bunch of
there.
stuff that's just in my dreams.
Yes.
And it's sort of like, I always had this vision of New York being still and clean and quiet. And I always visioned it like being in Antarctica. And I don't believe in color because I just believe in tones. Because who's to say that red is red? Human beings was taught red is red. It's a feeling when you see a tone. So human beings have said that red is R-E-D. I
Right.
think that it's a tone and a feeling more than that's green. So it could be beige and bright or less tone. You know, the tone. It's a tone to me. Because I don't have a favorite color. I don't believe in colors.
Right.
It's just man-made words. They're more feelings. The tones are feelings. So I paint how I feel.
Well,
So
I mean, you have created a world that is super clean and beautiful and intricate.
So I try to be just honest with my work. I don't know, it's very tedious what I do. I spend so many hours, sometimes I forget to eat, and then my mother used to say, "You're too skinny, Victor." I'm 130 pounds. I've been 130 pounds since I was 25 years old. I'm 53, I'm 130 pounds now.
That's all, but you look great.
Hey, it's all right. I mean, my back ain't great, stretching canvas.
Yeah.
I ain't young like I used to. And I just did a mural in the Bronx, and Kenny Scharf did 400-foot-long mural. And going up that Jimmy lift for a whole month, running, that's a young man's sport.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that no more.
Right. But you did a mural with Kenny Scharf. You've done
No,
it.
Kenny did one side of a building,
He did
his
one
mural.
side, and you did the other.
We were commissioned, and it did it a month ago, and I'm still filming it. So, I used to do stuff like it's very physical outside, doing those outside murals. But I like it when it's nice weather. But you get the wind and the rain and the rain and the wind.
Yeah. So no more murals for you?
Yo, many more.
Many more?
It just depends. I have to just stretch more to maybe do some yoga.
Do some yoga. Well, you're in LA. It's the yoga center of America, it feels like.
Yeah, I'd rather go to the beach though.
Really?
Yeah, the sand is, I was swimming in the beach. I was on Venice Beach. And it's November. I go in year round. And people pointing at me, and I turn around, it was a head this big, bigger than your couch. It was a male bull sea lion,
No
2 feet from
way.
me. I was shaking like a chicken. And then this my Baywatch kid came up with me with a surfboard and said, "Hey dude, they don't mess with you. If you don't mess with them, they don't mess with you. I've been out here all morning. You cool?" I was like, I got out of that water so quick.
Yeah,
I've never seen a male bull sea lion is a big black. It
Oh
scared
yeah,
the
and
heck
they
out of
will.
me.
They are not playful.
It was 2 feet from me.
They're
And
seriously.
that's what I love about LA. From my place to swimming with a male or a wild sea lion, 25 minutes from my house. Coney Island don't have that, and going to the Hamptons is too far away.
I don't even think they have seals in the Hamptons, do they?
They got jaws out there.
Oh yeah, that's
Things
right.
will murder you.
Oh, we have great whites too. We
I know,
have
you
got
got a
some.
lot of stuff out here
I
too.
know, I know. Stingrays. There's stingrays.
Yeah, we got a lot of
It's
things out here.
exact-
Mountain lions.
Raccoons,
Mountain lions.
coyotes,
Mountain lions.
and there's hawks that live in downtown LA, and they swoop down and get the pigeons.
I saw that. I saw it in front of my place.
How awesome is
My
that?
friend took a video of it.
Have you seen the parrots? We have wild parrots.
No, I've seen hummingbirds, but it's nice to be here. It's great light, and you can find any place in LA to get anything made. I mean, anything you want to get manufactured or do a prototype of. It's amazing. It's the diversity of so many different people are just so good with their hands. That's why I love the Moroccan guys when they do the tiles and when they're working with the pigments. It's just so many different countries are in California that work with their hands, and it's in New York is much smaller because it's not big as it's not spread out like, and it's difficult. It's finding more difficult in New York to get things like manufactured and finding people having their own warehouses that can make you
whatever you need.
Whatever you need.
Exactly. And there are over 220 languages spoken in the homes of children who go to the Los Angeles Unified School District. We have the most diverse linguistic background in the U.S.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the square footage of studios in New York is so high priced, and from the studios, from the galleries, they're finding is a haven here. And with the internet, New York and LA is not as far as it used to be.
No,
the
not at all.
The internet changed it all.
I thought it was long distance calling when I was a little girl. Like I could call long distance. It was so exciting. Yeah. And now it's just boom, email, boom.
Yes, because you look at Sam Francis and Richard Diebenkorn. You look at say, why did Hockney move to LA? You're an East Coast painter because I believe in the old New York school of painting with Motherwell and de Kooning and Clifford Steele and Barnett Newman. Those guys are the best, and I paint how I feel, and these guys paint how they feel, and the old New York school is not as prominent, or I mean, it's painting is seems manufactured more than actually painting. And there's a great film, you must get it, called Painter's Painting. Okay. And it shows how the war made all of the birth of abstract expressionists, from Solowitt and everyone's in it. Rauschenberg, it's called Painter's Painting. Brilliant movie, done in the 70s.
I will dig at that one up. I love the curve in this one and the rising sun. This is beautiful.
Oh, thanks. This one is how I feel on Venice Beach.
It's very oceanic.
Yeah.
I see the Ferris wheel and the boardwalk.
I get a bike and I ride down there, and it's not boring because beaches can be boring. You know that.
Yeah, but Venice is zany.
How much suntan can I get? It's like after a while, it's like. But it's never boring. The lunatics on that beach. Oh yeah. I mean, from the artists, from the musicians.
The bodybuilders, the fortune tellers.
I don't watch them too much, but
no.
I watch the girls walking by.
Yeah, exactly. But
I just watch, and I love the artists because you have such a variety of artists, and I love the ocean.
It's historic and beautiful down there.
Yeah, that piece is my feelings from being here.
And it shows it. It's very
See that sea line up there?
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
That's the bad boy that got me last year. That right there. That little motherfucker tried to bite me, man. Probably thought I was his grandma, wet seal, looking in the water like a wet seal, wet bull-headed seal.
He's like, who's that in my territory?
Yeah, I go there like 10:30 in the morning, and then I'm out by 1 because it's quiet. I love the ocean. I go year round.
So before you had a warehouse studio live-in space, do you live in your studio now?
No, I have a studio down the road from where I'm at.
Do you walk to it?
Yes, I walk.
You do, so you're one of the rare people who walks in LA.
Yeah, I walk and I bike, but people say I'm crazy because there's hills, and it's hard to go uphill and downhill. But I took my bike up Doheny to Sunset. It was a good workout, but
Don't try La Cienega. La Cienega is really brutal.
Yeah, but you have to watch out. I mean, people getting hit. This is the hit and run capital of the world.
Yep.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be, painting in a in a bed, you know.
We certainly don't want that. It's very hard, especially with the sizes that you do. I know you have a dinner to get to.
Yes.
So I'm going to say goodbye to you now.
Oh, thank you.
And I
It's
look
so
forward to
much a
seeing you
pleasure.
again.
It's so
You are
pleasure to meet
a
you.
delight, and I'm thrilled you were here.
I'm thrilled that you
and
invited me.
I
I'm
can't
honored
wait to
to be
see
here.
you again.
Likewise.
Take care. Thank
Be
you
well.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Wow. So awesome. Thank you. Our next guest coming up right now is Joe O'Neill, a very dear friend of mine, someone I've known for almost ages.
Seems like it, yeah.
It seems like it, quite some time. And there's, yep.
Making sure I'm.
You
The
trust
mic
me,
is
you're
hot.
very hot.
Yeah.
Well, we know.
Yeah.
So, Joe, I've never actually got to really talk to you about your painting and about your art, even though I've curated you into 2 shows for Homeboy Industries and
On a downtown show as well.
and a downtown show, and I've run into you a bunch. Yeah, that's right, Angel City Brewery.
Yeah, that was a great show.
I've just never talked to you about your art and what inspires it and your background or anything, so let's just shoot the shit.
So yeah, what do you want to know first? What do you want to talk about
Well,
first?
you were born a young man.
Yeah, I grew up in Santa Monica. I was born in Philly, but moved to the West Coast when I was 3. I grew up in Santa Monica.
Did you go to Samo?
I did,
What year did you graduate?
85.
You might have known my ex-husband, but anyway, moving along.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up there. I lived in Oklahoma for a bit as a kid, briefly. I lived around LA. I lived in San Francisco for a while. I moved up there to go to art school. Went to Santa Monica College off and on for a long time. Studied some art there. They had a really good art program and a really good, I learned a lot of fundamentals there. Design, took design classes and drawing, and it was, all pre-digital. So you were making, using gouache to do all your designs.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And remember Letraset?
Oh yeah, that stuff,
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
Zipatone, like the dot patterns to make shadows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Like that. When I first saw that, I'm like, that's how they do it in comic books. They cut it out and lay it down.
Yeah.
And a lot of your art has a very American graphic art sensibility, and I mean that in a great, you incorporate lettering, and it's very impactful, and it's not kitschy though.
Thank you. Yeah, I try not to. I don't want it to be
No, it's
kitsch,
not.
and
It's not folky art.
Yeah, I don't want it to be folky, and I don't want it to. There's some of the sort of kitsch art. It feels like that people have a checklist of what they're trying to fit in there.
This is something that's very different from what I'm used to.
Yeah, this is a little different. There's actually text
this
in this one that it's hard to see.
Is this your tribute to the 7th Street Bridge?
No, this is actually a view from the Burnside Bridge in Portland.
Oh.
I was in Portland, and I went for a walk one morning, and I had a sketchbook, and I was looking at the bridge, and I thought I'd do a quick sketch, and it started raining, and my pen died, and I was basically there for 5 minutes. I did a drawing, and then I took a picture, and it sort of turned into this painting, and so I wanted to. I was doing these bigger paintings on paper, trying to keep them loose and not get too caught up in, it's realism, but not too caught up in more expression than photorealism.
Right. So. And there is the technique of the drips in the water, and the way the reflection is not 100%. There's that. You'll see a lot of river paintings where it's a total perfect reflection, and in this there's stuff going on in the water.
Yeah, and the kind of the drips kind of take it out of the reflection and the realism, and they bring it back to sort of the medium and the technique.
Exactly. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Now you work a lot with text, though. That's some of the things I'm most familiar with. There you go.
Yeah.
Do not let your fear control you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, this is a painting. I do use a lot of text. I'm interested in text. I'm interested in sign painting. I'm interested in typography and lettering, and layers of images. And this is actually from a painting, or from a photo I took. I was in Chicago at Millennium Park under the Cloud Gate, which is the big mirrored sculpture, and it was these two 20-something Muslim girls taking selfies so they could see their reflection in the ceiling, or in the Cloud Gate. They were under the Cloud Gate. And so I made that one, you know, because it's just two 20-something girls doing what 20-something girls do. And
but then you add the layer of the headscarves.
Well, and they had the headscarves on, which is why I took it in there, because there's so much Islamophobia and these boogeymen, and it's like, these are just 20-something girls doing what 20-something girls do.
Exactly. But on the other hand, if you had a paranoid mind, that's a very sinister image, especially under a monument.
I guess so. Yeah, I didn't even think about it in those terms.
And the idea, and you want to take it another level. We are controlled by our phones and our fear. So there's a whole lot of stuff in this, and many, and this is just beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. And where are you showing next?
I just had a show with Mike Street at FM Fine Arts in Hollywood, and we have a catalog for that. And then I've submitted to some shows. I don't have anything lined up currently.
Well, I hope you do.
Yes.
And I want to see more. Let's do another one. Okay, this one is very text depth.
Yes.
And very pop-up art as well.
Yeah,
And
this actually started out as the background for another painting.
whoa, no signal out here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it started out as a background.
It started as a background for another painting, yeah, and then it sort of became the other painting that was going to be. Like, I cut paintings up and put them on top of each other, and the piece that I was going to use on top of this one.
You cut like
I'd paint on wood.
Oh, you paint on wood. Okay.
And then I cut the paintings up into pieces and I reassemble them, and so I was
like
gonna,
with a skill saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you make different shapes, or is it
sometimes?
pretty much...
Usually it's sort of a grid, you know. I'd make shapes. Sometimes I'll do cutout paintings, but this one I had a painting I was going to cut up and kind of flip around and use, and I needed a background for it, and that's what this painting was. But it became its own painting, and the painting that I was going to do on top of it just sort of never got off the ground.
And what is this? What does the text say? Because I'm a little
well,
nearsighted
you know, the
today.
thing about text is I can't remember exactly what it says. It's sort of a commentary on influence, on artistic influence. But it wasn't. The point was not necessarily to be able to read it. I like to use text as a visual element.
No, and it works because I see those blue lines. Like, I'm just falling into it as an optical vortex.
Well, and that's what I wanted to do, particularly with this one, is the text gets smaller and lighter as it goes into the center. And there's also lines and other things to kind of pull you into the center.
I'm totally tripping on this. Oh, amazing. Amazing. And how long does something like this take you? Do you work on one at a time, or?
I work on a few things at a time. That one, I mean, I don't know how long it took me. I know that to do that text probably took me 8 or 10 hours, you know, I think. I'm really bad at keeping track of the time, but you know, I drew the guidelines and did the text.
So you do it by hand?
Yeah.
No stencils?
Sometimes I will make a drawing of the text and then transfer it, like the painting before this.
Right.
Do not let your fear control you. But a lot of times, even that text it's rarely from a computer. It's like, and with text like this, I just made a top and a bottom guideline and just started painting, and it was an alphabet that I was sort of familiar with, so I could do that.
Do you ever worry about misspelling?
I have trouble like writing notes. To
Sometimes,
people by hand because
and I catch misspelling sometimes. I do catch, so I do worry about it. Or sometimes I'm thinking about the next word, and so I'll like skip a word, and so I'll take it off. And sometimes I will just leave it in, because in a painting like this, where the text is more of a visual element than a literary element, it doesn't matter. I mean, if somebody catches it, then they caught me.
Speaking of literary elements, what books are on your bedside table right now?
Right now, I'm reading The Brain That Changes Itself, about neuroplasticity. My Struggle by Carl of Narsgaard. He's a Norwegian writer that wrote a 5-part autobiography. I'm starting book 2. I don't know if I'll make it through all of them.
But you read book 1?
I read book 1.
And it was compelling enough to move?
I was interested enough to keep going to book 2.
Right.
And then...
how much of your life can you get into 5 volumes?
I don't know. It's actually really well written, and he kind of goes off on tangents he did a great, few pages about painting in the first book. So, and it's not like a lot of stuff is happening that's out of the ordinary. So it seems incredibly self-indulgent.
Menu sometimes?
Not quite that, but it's like big things that
like
happen in his
4,
life. But I don't know if I'll make it through.
It rained.
It's incredibly indulgent.
It's to write, yes. To read, I don't know if I could handle that.
Yeah.
Let's see another piece of art. Speaking of me, there we go. Whoa.
And this is
colors.
another one using text
that
as
blue. Oh, those blues are so beautiful.
And this is another one using text as an abstraction, sort of experimenting with creating an abstraction with text.
And what is the title of that one?
It's called An Actual Conversation, because it's actually, it's all excerpts from a conversation that I had with somebody about painting, about his painting in particular. And when I use text, I like to have something to start from. It's not just random words, but at the same time, it doesn't need to be readable. It's not a document. So like in this case, I started with this conversation that was interesting, and I wrote about that, and then I pulled words out of that and phrases out of that and went from there. And I was going to do another layer on top of this, but it didn't really, but I got to this point and I stopped, and I felt like it was done here.
And have you shared this painting with the
No, I haven't shown it with the but he's somebody I don't know very well, so like, if I run into him, maybe I'll talk to him about it.
Interesting.
But maybe it's not even relevant, like the fact that we had the conversation is, I don't know.
It's done, and you were inspired by it and
utilized it. And do we have another one? Ooh.
So this is another one where I'll do text, either practice boards or sketches for paintings. I'll do layers of text on a piece of wood in different colors and kind of over and over on top of each other, and then I will cut them up and reassemble them. And this is sometimes I use all different colors, but this is all from one piece of wood and sort of one painting.
Well, I notice in the last 2 paintings there's a use of variations on primary colors. Is that something you try to stick with, primaries in white and black, or is it just...
It just kind of happens that way. I actually have used a lot of pinks and purples lately too. The primary colors, I always find myself coming back to them. They kind of just make sense, especially with something like the text paintings. Although in the very first painting, the river painting, I tried to stay away from, keep everything muted. Like I think the bluest thing I used was a Payne's gray. But I do kind of find myself going back to the primary colors because I seem to like to make paintings that I really have some punch,
Yeah.
And like the intensity of color appeals to me.
The first painting we saw reminded me a lot of Dutch landscapes, very much so. The muted gray, and Portland does have that sort of
gray overcast, but just the intricacy of the buildings, you were really precise with it. And then here's something like this, which is so voluptuous and loose.
Yeah, I have a lot of different interests and a lot of things that influence me, so I am always trying to do different things. I feel like I get too scattered, like I'm going in too many different directions, but that's just how it happens. I mean, you know, I paint things that are interesting, and what, you know, I sort of follow my interests.
Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to do the same. There was an artist who said he had this show, and I talked to him, and I said, he had another show that was completely different and kind of took a lot of chances compared to the work before. And I said, I think it's really great that you were doing this, you know, because you could have done this other thing, and like, it would have worked, and you would have sold a bunch of those. And he said, yeah, I just don't want to dig the same hole more than once, which I thought was a really great way of putting it. So.
Yeah, but they all have they do have your vibe to them.
Yeah,
even
I
within
guess so.
this. And what direction do you think you're going to go next?
There's a couple things. There will be more of sort of the layered text paintings. I have some of those. Some I did for the last show that got that I didn't use.
That show was pretty much everything sold.
A good part of it, yeah.
I
Not
heard it
everything,
was
but a
like-
lot of it.
I
I was
like,
surprised, pleasantly. So.
Like it was like a grand slam for both you guys.
Yeah, it was a
really
really,
good
it was
show.
a really good show, and it was really generous of Mike to ask, because he just said, you know, he wanted to do the show. Told the curator, you know, he wanted to do the show with me, so it just dropped into my lap, and our work seems to play off each other really well.
Right.
And we do have sort of a friendship. We've, you know, talked about stuff, but we didn't plan anything of, you know, we didn't even send pictures of what we were putting in the show. We just kind of showed up with it.
And hung it, and
yeah.
it worked.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to do a show.
Yeah.
I'm not really, when I curate shows, I'm not into micromanagement and like going and looking at it. I mean, and every time I've been super pleasantly surprised by what arrives. It's like, wow. I mean, a couple times I think, but I make it work.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of trusting the artists and having a passing familiarity with what they're capable of. And like giving them guidelines, like, this is a show that's not about boobs, no naked chicks, and then that's fine.
Yeah.
Or this is a show that's all naked chicks, and that's fine. Not that, you know, that's...
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. You don't want to put too many restrictions on people, because, you know, I think the work suffers. You know, like, I certainly don't want to get involved. Like, I don't want to get involved in something that has, like, too many rules, or somebody who's like, we really need you to do something like this, and it's like, I don't have any interest in doing that.
Could you just paint orchids? We're doing a show that's all about orchids, and you're perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe you would do something that's in orchid color?
Yeah, or, you know, yeah, or paint an orchid on top of a cut-up text painting or something. But yeah, it's you know.
Like, I don't like to have too many restrictions in my life.
Yeah.
Why would I put them
Exactly.
on my work?
Yeah, and like you said, it goes back to having some idea of what the artist is capable, and trusting them to bring something worthwhile to the show.
Exactly. And I think at the same time, it's good for artists to shake up their galleries, like when Lynn Folks went from his beautiful rock paintings to his open skull.
Yeah.
It's every now and then, or not digging the same hole twice,
Yeah.
like or digging yourself into a hole and into an early grave.
Yeah.
So let's see, do we have another one?
I think there's one more.
Let's...
Oh, there's a couple more, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this one, when I said I was going to do more text paintings, this actually had a text painting underneath it. I did a couple of those.
It looks like it says
Yeah,
beans.
it's kind of irrelevant again,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
I mean, you can pull out what you want, but I did the painting on top of it, and I was kind of sad that I lost. It was another one where I'm like, I should have stopped and made another painting and then done this painting on top of it. So there's a lot more to explore with the text paintings.
Do you know when to stop?
Sometimes. Sometimes I do, and sometimes sometimes I think I should stop now. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna push it a little further. And then it ends up a fine painting, but sometimes I feel like if I had stopped when I initially thought, I would have a really good painting.
So do you have more regret paintings or less regret paintings? Ones where you regret that you didn't stop?
Probably less, but
That's
I
good.
try to keep that in mind because there's times when, like I think I was painting a portrait at one point, and I did this underpainting, and it was super loose, and you could kind of get a sense of who the person was, and I just stop it right here. But it's like, oh no, it's got to be more realistic and whatever, and like people got to know that I can paint a portrait, and I painted it, it came out fine, but like I still think back, like I should have just started another one and like left that one as is. So
Did you take a photo of the underpainting?
no, I mean, no, this was before we had camera phones, and I didn't document things the way I do now.
Now you document. Do you
Yeah.
document each stage of a painting?
Sometimes. Sometimes I do just for posterity, and sometimes I do because I get stuck, or I don't know. I know that the painting's not finished, but I don't know what the next step is, and so I'll take a picture and look at it later. And also looking at something like on a computer or on your iPhone, it changes it, and it kind of allows you to see it a little more objectively. It's almost like if you like turn it upside down or look at it, you know, reflected in a mirror, you kind of get a different sense of the painting.
Do you ever just set it aside and go to work on something
Oh,
else?
sure, yeah.
And then it just sort of chews in the back of your
Yeah,
head?
and there's paintings that are half done that'll sit in my studio for a couple years, and I'm halfway between painting over them and then something, or I think maybe I could do this with it, but then something happens. I actually did that for the last show. There was a couple paintings that I had done and I'd finished, and then I wasn't really happy with, so one of them I cut it in half and put something else in the middle, and another one I use as a backing for another painting that I mounted on top. So,
If you had to give advice to artists starting today, what would you suggest to them?
do work you can stand behind. Don't just try to get a gimmick. And unfortunately, the reality of being an artist is if you want, and I read this as a quote when I was in art school from a member of the Ashcan School. If you want to have true freedom as an artist, have another way to pay your bills.
That is
Yeah.
very true, and I see a lot of artists today, writers, writers and painter, sculpture artists. They think that that's how 100% they're going to pay their bills. Like they're going to sell X number of paintings, which is great. But in reality, Franz Kafka, I have to go, Franz Kafka, you know, the cockroach guy?
Yeah.
He worked in an insurance.
Yeah.
And every now and then, it's good. Like, there's that middle area where you like, if you can make your living as an artist to the point where you can say, fuck you to.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah. But in the meantime.
In the meantime, and, you know, being a struggling artist has its charm for up to, like, I think age maybe 28, and then I like hot water.
Yeah, exactly. There's and particularly now, like it's more expensive than it was in the 90s or the 80s, and so supplies are expensive, rent's expensive, having a studio is expensive, and it's hard to I would find it hard to make good creative decisions if my finances are my number one concern.
And it's expensive to mount a show, to do a show.
Yeah.
Like, you need X number of paintings plus some extras just in case it doesn't work out. And when you get into canvases or even pieces of wood that are decent size, I work really small.
Yeah.
And I'm worried, like, and I like to work small because it just works for me. I'm a control freak or something. But but the bigger you get, I mean, and then having something to haul them in,
and storage.
And storage. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
That's a very good, those are very good pieces of advice. I think I hear our music starting. So you have been live on Dromebox. This is Modern Art Blitz. Oh my gosh, but wait, what's that before we go?
Oh, that's a painting. It's a triptych of, it started as a text piece behind with a painting of swamis. I kind of got on.
Is it the Three Wise Men?
No, it's just 3 swamis. I kind of got on this kick painting swamis because they're fascinating. It's like, are they like these esoteric seers who have some secrets, or are they just like carny hucksters who are like selling you?
Have you seen those guys? They'll hang out and they'll go, hello, hello, I have an important spiritual message for you. Oh my gosh. One of them was like, if you give me $20, I'll tell you. I'm like, okay, for $20. Like, he goes, there are 2, you're involved with 2 men. One is taller than the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, yeah, okay, that was $20 never to give a sidewalk swami $20.
Yeah.
But I was just really curious about and one loves you more than the other,
Yeah.
and you love
well,
one
sometimes it's worth paying people for a good hustle.
Yeah,
like if
exactly.
they got a good, if they like hook me, like I'll give them money just to see where they're going, but only once.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
that was enough.
because some guy on the sidewalk, he does not have the answers for me, like that I've just run into. You know.
No.
I don't know if anybody does.
You do. You
Yeah.
have the answers for you.
Sure.
Just to hold that selfie up to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. All right. So, are we out? Is this it?